All right, let's talk percussion family. There are 3 different categories of percussion instruments: definite pitch, indefinite pitch, and auxiliary or world percussion. Something that all percussion instruments share in common is the way that they are played. They either need to be hit, struck, shook. They make their own sound, which makes them an idiophone. The whole instrument makes the sound. Or in the case of membranophones, like this drum right here, the membrane on top vibrates and then makes the whole entire drum have its own tone. So let's talk definite pitch. One of the first instruments that is a definite pitch are instruments from the xylophone family. So this is our ORF instrument from our classroom, and I can play each bar that's a different size, and it has a definite pitch according to the musical alphabet. There it is, definite pitch. And the pitches change, like I said, according to the size of the bar. Some other instruments that are like that are the marimba, other xylophones, the vibraphone. So anything that has bars like this. The chimes would be another one. Those are tubes, kind of like the boom whackers, but they're metal tubes that hang down and we play them with a hammer, and they reflect all of the different pitches of the musical alphabet. So moving over into the indefinite pitch, we have things like the African drums, and we have things like the tambourine. So they make their own sound, so both an idiophone and a membranophone, because we can tap that surface or that membrane on top. And usually, traditionally and historically, and even still to this day, a lot of membranophones are actually made from real hides of animals, especially world instruments. Things that might come from Africa or India or China. A lot of the world instruments are still made traditionally out of things that can be found among the people and places and regions where they come from. So, like I said, auxiliary and world percussion is a third category. It is slightly different because there's so many of them, literally thousands. All different cultures across the world are going to have their own sort of instruments, and they're going to make them according to the supplies and resources that are available. So this is called a wiro. It kind of sounds like a frog. This is called an agogo bell. So I'm going to tap on the edge of the bell. Kind of sounds like a cowbell. We have the maraca, of course. So all of these things are really great examples of how percussion are played. They need to be hit or struck or shook. We have one last category I haven't really super talked about yet, and that is still that indefinite pitch, but it is the concert instruments of the timpani, of the bass drum, and the snare drum. Here we are in the percussion equipment area of the music room. There are a ton of different instruments that get played in the percussion family, but I'm going to go over some of the main ones today. So we have what is called the timpani. And these are also historically known as what we call kettle drums because they look like big kettles. They have these really cool foot pedals down here on the bottom, and that's attached to an interior spring system inside the kettle part itself, and it changes the tension on the top part of the drum. So I'll kind of demonstrate that here. I'm going to turn this down so you can kind of see. And we don't want to play in the center. It gets kind of thuddy and icky. We're going to play in this space. Gently, we're going to roll it. And as I change my foot, the pitch will change. It's magic! And as I put my foot back down, the pitch will go lower again. So there was a word I used in my introduction video, and that was called definite or indefinite pitch. We will tune the timpanis to definite pitches from the musical alphabet and from the piano. So that is how you tune them. Whatever song you're playing, it will tell you what pitches you need to play. And then you're going to tune the timpani to that pitch by changing the foot pedal. We have the bell set. These are set up just like a keyboard would be. So if I swing this around, you can see that I have what would be the white keys on a piano, and then what would be our groups of 2 or 3 black keys on the piano. And we would play this just like we would a piano. And sometimes I might even play these offset accidentals, we call them. So a little bit about the bells. And we've played a lot of bells and xylophones and things in our music classes. So the next instrument I'd like to feature is the snare drum. I'm going to get that set up and then I'll come back with a new video. This is the snare drum. Now the snare drum can both play as a tom and as a snare. We make a small change in something I'll show you here in a second. So right now it's set up for tom playing. So you can hear it's really open and empty. But if I change this little lever on the side here, I get that nice crisp sound we all recognize as the snare. What that does is there's this series of little clips, metal, little twirly things on the bottom, and that either turns those on or turns those off. And that's what gives us that characteristic snare sound. So here it is off and on. So snare drum is what we kind of can, when we think of drums and the drum family and percussion instruments, snare drum is one of the first ones that come to mind. Now, we hold them with what we call a matched grip. So fingers are down, thumbs are on the sides, they match, they look alike. Some of you may have seen some drummers that play what we call a traditional grip. Now, we aren't marching with drums on our sides into war anymore, so it makes more sense for us to play in a traditional style. Right, so a little sample on the snare drum. The last instrument I'd like to feature is the bass drum. And the bass drum is one of the bigger instruments of the percussion section. Actually, timpanis will get bigger than this, much larger than this actually. But this is kind of a fairly small concert bass drum for our elementary music purposes. So we can bang on it just like we would, because all percussion instruments need to be played with either our hands or a mallet or a stick. Remember, they're called idiophones or membranophones. So this is that membrane that goes all the way across, and that's what we play on. And we can roll it just like I did with the timpani. So the bass drum is really responsible for keeping the heartbeat of the band going. So it's super important for percussionists to be able to keep a steady beat. And that's why a lot of times we recommend people who have played piano as percussionists, because there is something about transferring the piano skills of a steady beat, subdividing rhythms, reading music into the percussion section from the get-go. If you can read music, these bells will be super easy for you because you already have the concept of a keyboard and how the keyboard lines up with the notes on the staff. So this has been a little sample of our percussion section. Just a quick reminder of some of the instruments that we have. We have this timpani. We have the snare drum. I'm going to flip the stick over here. We have the bells. We have the bass drum. And then we also have a ton of things that we call auxiliary. And remember, that's things like the cowbell, wood block, cymbals, the sleigh bells. So all those extra things, triangle, maracas, wood blocks, I already said that, claves, castanets, all those little extra sounds that might come from around the world that just give us a really neat extra flavor on top of our band instruments. So again, this has been the percussion section. Remember that they are membranophones or idiophones. So the whole entire instrument is used to make a sound. They have a membrane that goes across the top, or they need to be shook or hit or struck with a hammer or a mallet or a stick. So again, I'm so excited that you joined me for this mini lesson on percussion instruments. And if you have any questions about any of the instrument families, be sure and send me a little email, kreader@blossoms.k12.mn.us. I'm super excited to start 5th grade band in the fall, and can't wait to be in touch with the families who are involved with that. Thanks, everybody.